Imagine a group of islands in the center of the Mediterranean. Imagine through all the cultures of the last 5,000 years. Imagine a people with southern Latin blood influenced by Nordic discipline. Imagine a venue where the organization, the technical support and hospitality is outstanding. Then you will be imagining Malta. Set in the center of the Mediterranean, the islands are surrounded with the clearest of blue seas and the sun shining throughout the year. Malta, Gozo and Camino are three islands molded by the passage of time and decorated by the Order of St. John, better known as the Sovereign Military Order of Malta.
The larger one was the embassy with two levels of balconies and even a third side balcony level. And underneath there was the ambassador, which also had a balcony of its own. So quite a few levels stacked on top of each other. And I mentioned later on one level was taken out, or cut off rather, of the embassy, which was split into two new screens called in Maltese the Jawra and the Joyel, the pearl and the jewel respectively.
Was born out of a terrible conflict that could have crushed a lesser people. But the Maltese are strong, brave and resilient, as you're going to find out. And it all started with the Knights of St. John, who sailed into this very harbour in October of 1530.
Street started to get a bad reputation, and this was really just the very start, because during the time of the British, especially the sailors would gather here. They would come here to be entertained, because Straight Street became a hub of bars, music halls. There were
Although the Manuel opened as a theatre, it converted to cinema use in 1927 and ran in this mode until 1955, when it again converted back to a theatre. As with many theatres and cinemas in Malta, the exteriors are not very exciting, but once you get inside, the story changes dramatically.
When we are in the auditorium, notice the ceiling. It gives the impression it looks like a dome, but you can see it better from the auditorium when we go down.
Gosh, what a story this site has to tell. It opened as the Royal Opera House in 1866, and from around 1900 onwards it featured cine variety. But this all came to an abrupt end in 1942 after a direct hit from a German bombing raid. The remains of the building were demolished in the 1950s, and the site was subsequently allowed to stand vacant. This changed a few years ago when the grand plan to turn it into an open-air theatre was devised by Renzo Piano, of Shard fame.
So what we were really appreciating 2 years ago was roughly 60% of what we're seeing today. After vast research with Guillaume, especially Guillaume, spent many hours digging up research, we had enough reason to believe that there was more, because from the basement plans we couldn't really tell where the rest of the basements were. So we convinced the client to dig 2 trial pits across the site to see whether we managed to find something. And I get goosebumps even thinking about it, because it was the most exciting part of the work, probably, when we actually started finding arches and rock cut roofs.
So we create in effect what is a little tiny globe. If you can imagine, you'd have the 2 entrances at the side, you'd have the inner stage at the back, and up above you actually have Juliet's balcony. But we can take it a step further, and we can actually remove all that paraphernalia up there and remove the balcony, and therefore we then have a little proscenium arch theatre. With, you can just about see where the flies are up there. So it's very, very flexible space. And if any of you go to Richmond, there's a lovely little theatre called the Orange Tree. And this space was designed by the same people that theatre projects consultants. They've done spaces like the Lowry, they've done spaces like the Sydney Opera House, and so on and so forth. Because he had never seen a projector just so still, you know, everything just stayed rock solid. And I've experienced this. We've had films which are mint condition, and you know how you get white titles on black background. I tell you, I could have sworn it was digital. That's how rock steady it is. You know, when you have gearing like this, that's beautiful. It really is. We have the 3 lenses over there for those of you who want to see the Academy, the wide screen, and the flat, sorry, and the cinema scope. As you can see, we don't have a platter. We have a vertical system because, well, the space didn't allow for platters, to be perfectly honest. And this lovely little creature is our 16mm, which we don't use anymore, to be perfectly honest. And